Hello there, adventurers. It's Neon here, and welcome to another channel update video. Today is June 9th. It has been 1 week since the finale of the Outer Worlds Let's Play that we had going with our low intelligence character, Sam Smart. It'd been a long time coming. It's the first Let's Play that we started on the channel back at the beginning of 2024, and it's lasted all the way through pretty much halfway through 2025. I really wasn't expecting the Outer Worlds to take that long. It ended up being about 74 episodes, I believe, and I was really planning on it to be in the 40 to 50 episode ballpark, and that is definitely not what happened. Although I've mentioned that to a couple people that are friends of the channel, and they are pretty quick to point out the fact that there were multiple times where I've meandered throughout the Let's Play in terms of just doing things like decorating my cabin for Sam, or going off and doing a random little side quest to get more Rizzos for Sam, stuff like that. Which, fair enough. I do tend to play games relatively slowly, so it's not unusual for me to take a bit longer than anticipated for most of the games I play. But doing the Let's Plays, I am actually playing quite a bit faster than I typically would playing it by myself. But I learned a lot from the experience of having the Outer Worlds be my first Let's Play, and I hope that everybody enjoyed how things ended up wrapping up. I'm really proud of how the last episode turned out, and how I was able to do some stuff with the intro and really just kind of play with some of the storytelling there. And that episode is one of the closest that I've really gotten to kind of creating my own story with the games that I'm playing, and that has really gotten closer to what my goal and purpose for the channel has been this entire time. So I'm really happy with that. The entire Let's Play itself didn't always go as I intended. When I first started the Let's Play and had the idea of a low intelligence character, I was mainly planning on doing a board-centric playthrough, where my character would side with the board and do all the more morally dubious stuff with that character, because if you've played the Outer Worlds, it's really hard to have any kind of character that wouldn't side with Phineas, in my opinion. Just kind of seeing the ineptitude of the board and the companies that are on it, it makes it just so hard to create any kind of character that doesn't. And I think I've mentioned in previous videos that even the character that I made before Sam, that was very much a self-absorbed, she's only here for the payday type of character, like, even trying to role play that in character, I couldn't get that character to even side with the board. So I thought the only way that I could see that happening is if they just had very low intelligence. They were just straight up dumb and couldn't know any better. And so that was the angle I was going for with Sam at the beginning. And as things progressed, I wasn't expecting for my sort of characterization of Sam to become a lot more attached with the side characters and the companions as he did, like with Parvati and with Vicar Max and, Sam the robot, and Felix and Nyokai and Ellie. I didn't really expect that dynamic to form as well as it did, and it kind of created this fun sense of camaraderie with them as his crew, but also they were kind of a sort of guiding hand for him that sort of helped him see that, no, what is going on in Halcyon is kind of messed up. And to getting to the point where Sam was very trustful of the types of things that his crew would tell him. And that's ultimately sort of where we ended, where Sam was kind of had stopped just listening to doing whatever anybody else tells him to do, whether it's Phineas or whether it's the board, and just kind of going along with things and really listening to the core group of people that have been with him the whole time, and that being his friends and stuff. So that didn't really go how I intended in doing an actual board playthrough, so I'll have to do another playthrough of the Outer Worlds either on camera or off camera at some point in order to actually do a full honest to goodness board playthrough. So I failed in that regard to meet that plan. But it didn't go as intended in other ways, in the sense that it had been pointed out by a couple people that were watching that things seemed to just be very different after we finished Murder on Eridanos. And I agree that things changed after that DLC was over. The Murder on Eridanos DLC is some of my favorite content in the game, and I think especially with Sam being a low intelligence character, like, there was just a synergy between those two things, the DLC and Sam as a character, that really worked. It felt really good to be exploring things and being an inspector, but who is also low intelligence and who also loves Rizzos, and it's a very Rizzos themed DLC. Like, that all worked together extremely well, I thought, both from playing it and then from, as a creator, trying to like create an interesting narrative with that. But once that was over, I felt a little bit lost in terms of like, okay, what's Sam's motivations from here, aside from just kind of going with the flow and I guess wrapping up stuff that he told people he would do. And it made it feel a little bit aimless afterwards, in my opinion, and I don't really know what I could have done to combat that, because I think there's a few things that play into that. The aforementioned just synergy between Sam and the content that Eridanos provided really made it feel like it was kind of the culmination of the character. It felt more like the end than what ended up really being sort of the middle. And so the way that I went into Eridanos and the timing that I went into Eridanos just wasn't really the best timing, I suppose. And then there's also the aspect of once you go to Eridanos and you do that content, you're going to be so leveled up that the rest of the game is a bit of a cakewalk. And I knew that that was going to be an issue we'd probably run into, which is why I had played the game on Supernova difficulty. And even though I installed a mod that allowed me to save wherever I wanted, instead of just being able to save while sleeping on the unreliable or whatever the restriction was, the difficulty level of the game is exactly the same as normal Supernova. So that I didn't change at all. So I was hoping that the added difficulty from Supernova, along with the necessity to eat and drink, I was hoping that would bring a bit of an extra dynamic once you got to that normal point where things got too easy. But it didn't, in so short of words, because once we got back to doing the original main quest stuff on Monarch, we were steamrolling everything, and we didn't meet any sort of real difficulty again until we started doing the Peril on Gorgon DLC, which you don't really get access to until almost right near the end of the game. And so looking back, I struggle thinking of like how we could have paced the Let's Play a bit differently and restructured things so that maybe Eridanos could have happened at the end. But then again, you don't get any sort of like ending slides until you finish the game completely. So one of the things that ultimately conflicted with the Let's Play was just the type of game and RPG that the Outer Worlds is. It's not a sort of sandbox type of RPG where me as the player gets to kind of create my own story and narrative and kind of structure a playthrough in a specific way so as to get the kind of experience and storyline that I want to experience. And that is kind of where I'm eventually wanting to go with the channel, is more of those kind of experiences where I have a bit more control to create that. And I think Sam's character really lent to that vibe, that kind of style of Let's Play, where he could do whatever, but also would have really benefited from having a sort of more tailored ending that creates a bit of a different storyline than what the actual game wants. Because if there was a way to sort of get like ending slides just for Murder on Eridanos after you complete that DLC, there's probably a good chance I would have ended the Let's Play at that point and just kind of come up with maybe a separate video that showed the sort of the aftermath and maybe what Sam did next, or something like that, instead of having to kind of jump back through and in order to actually see the result of anything and feel like the story came to a conclusion, kind of trudge through the rest of the game. It was a learning experience. It allowed me to learn a lot, and also as I take into some of those lessons forward, trying to understand like maybe how I could eliminate some of those problems better with other games. So that's kind of where I came to with the Outer Worlds and some of the lessons I've learned. Ultimately, I think the ending that we came up with was ultimately kind of bittersweet. I enjoy it a lot because you have the element of it's going with Phineas, so things turn out generally better for Sam and his friends and the people of Halcyon than by going through the board. However, there's still a bit of bittersweetness there because, as we see in the ending, like all of Sam's companions kind of go off and do their own thing after the ending of the game, and ultimately that's kind of had become the sort of central pillar of Sam's life, was his friends. And it's kind of bittersweet to think of Sam just kind of being sort of out there, kind of maybe alone and not really knowing what to do next, a bit aimless in that sense. And then even his connection with Rizzo's, his love of Rizzo's, that's even gets a bit of a bittersweet end because of the decisions we ended up making. The Rizzo's corporation basically dissolves in the system, and so not only do his friends kind of leave and go off and do their own thing and leave him a bit aimless in that sense, he also then doesn't have the Rizzo's component after a while. So I think that's kind of an interesting bittersweet ending for Sam, but makes things fairly interesting at least. But that's enough of the Outer Worlds. That's a bit of a post-mortem done on the Outer Worlds Let's Play. Looking ahead, I've got a brand new Let's Play that is in the works that'll be taking over this Monday slot. It is another much more narratively driven, big RPG, very similar style to the Outer Worlds. It's not going to be quite as comedically themed as the Outer Worlds Let's Play was, just in terms of the tone of the game itself, but also the character that I want to make for it isn't going to be a low intelligence character or necessarily trying to provide comedic value in that sense. But the Let's Play is in the works. I have a Prelude/trailer coming out for that series next week on Monday in the normal Monday time, and then following that we'll be getting that Let's Play going and going full steam ahead on that. So keep an eye out for that. I hope you're going to be excited with the game that we're doing next. I'm certainly excited. It's another game that I'm replaying, so I have played through this game before, but it is an RPG that has meant a lot to me over the years. It's one of my favorites of all time, and I'm really excited to be able to share it with you all here on the channel. Well, adventurers, that's about all the updates that I have for you today. Hope you enjoyed the video and enjoyed the ending of the Outer Worlds. I hope you are going to be excited for the Let's Play that we have coming up. And ultimately, I just hope that you're all having a fantastic day. But other than that, guys, I will catch you all in the next video. Cheers.